my name is Beck and welcome to my NEWTS reading vlog. It is August 1st, which is the first day of the readathon, and it's around 10 o'clock in the morning. As you may or may not be aware, the NEWTS readathon is a Harry Potter themed reading challenge, and this is the second half of the challenge. The first half occurred in April and it was called the Owls, so whatever you read for your Owls was counted as a subject, and then you can continue that subject further in your NEWTS. So your NEWTS is more broken down than your Owls is. Owls is one book, one subject, and then NEWTS is one subject, multiple challenges, and then in each subject you can pick a book per challenge. So it's a little bit of a different structure, but I really like the nuance of it. In the Owls readathon, G from Book Roast, who is the creator of these readathons, she has created an entire careers and information booklet. So a career, if you chose one, it was an easy way for you to figure out what subjects you wanted to do. Some people just did all of them, some people pick and chose. It is a readathon, you can do whatever you want for fun, but it's also fun to have a little bit of a structure if you want one as well. So I chose Write a Journalist, and that was a fairly bite-sized approach to the readathon, which suited me fairly well because I've been reading a lot less this year than I have in the previous years. So it really did challenge me on a minute scale to actually tackle the books that were on my immediate TBR, which is what I really liked about it. But that means for the NEWTS readathon, I only have 3 subjects and a handful of books to read, which is a fairly bite-sized approach again, which I really like. So the subjects that I need to finish are History of Magic, Muggle Studies, and then a subject of my choice, and I've chosen Charms for that one. For History of Magic, I need to read 2 books, and so they are for the grades A and E for acceptable and exceeds expectations in the readathon. So for A, the prompt is read a fantasy, and I have chosen Darkblade for this one. And then for E, the challenge is to read a book with a map in it, and I've chosen Deviate by J. Kristoff for this challenge. For Muggle Studies, which is the next subject that I need to finish, it was a bit of an easier prompt, so I only have to read 1 book for this challenge, and the prompt is read a book with a photographic element on the cover, and I've chosen Stone Girl for this one by Eleni Hale. This is a young adult contemporary book. And then for Charms, which is a subject of my choosing, I have to read only 1 book for this one, and it is a book with a gorgeous cover, and I have chosen Dark Dawn to read by J. Kristoff. Additionally, if I want to get an exceeds expectation rather than just an acceptable in Charms, then I can add 1 more book to this TBR. This won't be too much of a huge challenge because this book that I want to add is fairly short, but the next book that I could read for Charms is read a graphic novel, and I've chosen The Wicked and the Divine for this one. I've read this before, but I haven't read it recently, and I'd like to reread it so I can talk about it better on my channel. So as for the books on my TBR, I actually started 2 of them before the readathon started, but then I realised that I wanted to keep them for this readathon specifically, so I put them back down. So I've actually read 9 pages of Dark Dawn, and I've read about 20-ish pages of Deviate, but I'm going to save the rest of the pages obviously for this readathon. So these are all the books that I want to read for my NEWTS readathon. I've actually also uploaded a quarterly TBR video, which is probably going to span some of August as well. So I will definitely dip into those books and pick up those in addition if I finish all of these on my readathon TBR. But stay tuned to see what I finish and what I read and what my thoughts are. I can't wait to do this readathon, especially on the back of the reading rush, because I really loved vlogging for that readathon and it's really put a fire in me to read more. So I can't wait to dive into this month-long challenge. So it's the 9th of August and it's about 12:30 and I have finished a book. I actually finished it yesterday, but I didn't have a chance to update, so that's why I'm sitting down now. And this was for History of Magic, but I actually think I read it out of order. So this was for the prompt E, which was read a book with a map in it, and can confirm this has a map in it. There was also a prompt before that was read a fantasy book, and I chose Darkblade for that, but I've already started this one before the readathon and I put it down so I could finish it for the readathon. So because I'd already started it, I wanted to get it out of the way. So I did read it out of order. I guess it's kind of like taking my NEWTS exams out of order, but in the end this readathon is for fun, so I'm sure this is fine and it still counts. I do have Darkblade to read as well, and that is also for History of Magic, but I actually want to jump into a different subject for the next book that I pick up because I've kind of started it. I read about 9 pages of it a couple of months ago, so that doesn't really count, but I'm going to start it again and I'm going to dive straight into it. Hopefully I power through it, because when I tell you what it is, you'll completely understand why. This advanced copy of Dark Dawn got into my hands in May, and I still haven't read it, which is a disgrace considering Nevernight and God's Grave are 2 of my all-time favourite fantasy books by J. Kristoff. It's a bit of a joke that I haven't read it yet, and this is my book for Charms, and that was my extra choose a subject of your choice prompt for this readathon because it matches with my career of writer journalist. So Dark Dawn is what I'm going to be picking up immediately next, but I also started an audiobook because the physical book, let's be real, is way too chunky for me, and I thought reading the audiobook would be a little bit more palatable considering I've read the rest of the series on audiobook and I'm used to the narrator or the narrators in this series. So I did start Dark Age on audiobook. I restarted the entire book because I'd read 12 pages. I think I mentioned that earlier in some sort of vlog format that I'd read 12 pages of this one before, but it just wasn't really sinking in. It was all the politics related to a particular battle. Because it was such a gap between reading Iron Gold and then reading this one, I'd pretty much forgotten the nuances of the story. So I thought I may as well restart reading this and then listen to the narrators to kind of cement their perspective in my head because I was struggling to connect with it in a written format. So far I am liking this. In the past I have said that I was worried this wouldn't live up to my expectations very much, and it kind of hasn't so far, but I'm only, I want to say 15% through. I don't know how many chapters that is. I can look up my audiobook and tell you, but let's be real, I'm not going to do that because I'm lazy. I hesitate to talk too much about this series because if I accidentally say a name, then it will definitely spoil you for the previous trilogy, and the previous trilogy, one of my favourite series of all time, and I don't want to take that away from somebody who's reading it for the first time because I know I wouldn't enjoy that. So the characters in this don't seem to be as cemented as they were in the first trilogy. And that's a very vague way of saying it, but I feel like certain things in Iron Gold happen for particular plot reasons rather than character reasons. I don't think certain characters would have done a certain thing in the story to lead them to where Dark Age is if it was the character actually deciding, but it was the plot kind of pushing the character to do that. So it wasn't entirely believable, but it seems to be working so far in this book. I'm still very early on. I don't really know what my thoughts are going to be, but so far I'm kind of walking on thin ice and trying to like it, trying to love it, trying to enjoy it. There was a pivotal fight scene that just happened which made me throw back to reading the first trilogy, and that's something that's re-sparked my love. So hopefully it continues uphill like that because I can't wait to read more of those types of scenes because that is what I have missed from Iron Gold. But I completely glossed over Deviate and I didn't really talk about my rating for it or what it was really about. I gave this one about a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I was thinking about giving it a 4, but I could. It wouldn't be a huge drama if I did because it seems fairly easy to level up considering J. Kristoff is one of my favourite authors, but I actually didn't really love this book. I wanted to after reading Lifelike because I predicted everything in Lifelike, literally except the last line in Lifelike, and that last line made me want to read Deviate. Deviate also stuck to fairly common archetypes, and because it did that I could obviously see the trajectory of where this was going to go, so that makes me think that I'm not quite the right audience for this. I think I'm a little bit too old, which makes me sad, but I'm used to J. Kristoff swearing in his books and being a little bit darker and grittier like in Nevernight. So when it came to this and there was made up lingo and made up swear words, I kind of almost rolled my eyes like, oh, kids. It had a different effect on me than it would have had I read it when I was younger. I would have just accepted it if I was younger, but because I'm reading it at an older age because I'm 26. Often when I saw certain swears that had been adapted into this language so they weren't really swear words, it kind of took me out of the story a little bit rather than engrossing me in the character who was saying it and why. And so kind of for that reason, I gave it a little bit of a lesser storyline. I wanted this to be more focused on Lemon, who is supposed to be the protagonist, but it took a few different characters aside from Lemon as well, and we kind of explored it in a multiple perspective kind of way, which is fine. I usually love multiple perspective, but I just didn't expect this to be. So again, my own expectations kind of pipped me at the post for this book. I will read the third book when it comes out. I do really like J. Kristoff's writing. I like his storytelling. I like the plot and the pace of his books. I don't think there's anything wrong with that whatsoever. I like the voice of Lemon, even though sometimes I was like, you're definitely a 16-year-old. Anyway, I rambled a lot about this book. I only finished it yesterday, so I haven't really solidified my thoughts and why I didn't necessarily love this as opposed to only liking it. So I feel like potentially in a wrap-up, I'll have a little bit more idea of my stance on this story, but I liked it, I enjoyed it, I didn't love it, but I kind of guessed that I might not be obsessed with it considering how I responded to Lifelike. I really like the world building and I really like the characters that we got to meet, but I wanted to have a little bit more grit and a little bit more substance. And don't get me wrong, this is a bloody book, but I also wanted a little bit more grit from the characters. And it seems to be slowly emerging, so maybe in the third book we'll get a little bit more of that on the page as well. So that was it from my long and rambly update. I finished Deviate and I've started Dark Dawn, or I'm gonna restart Dark Dawn because I don't remember the 9 pages that I read like several months ago. And then at some point I do plan on starting Dark Blade. Dark Blade? There are so many D books in this readathon. Dark Blade, Deviate, Dark Dawn and Dark Age. So it's the 13th of August and it's around 11 o'clock and I am just sitting down because I got some book mail and I'm pretty sure I know what it is and I'm so excited, so I thought I'd unbox it on camera. But as for my reading update, I finished Deviate like I said, and I'm reading Dark Dawn, which is my next NEWTS read. But I'm really loving this. I expected to love it and it's one of my favourite series. And without further ado, I'm just going to stop talking about this so that I can start talking about this. It's exactly what I thought it would be. Okay, so if you do or do not know, I actually collect the Nevernight series, and I was really lucky that I got the Dark Dawn arc from J. Kristoff himself. He actually gave it to me when I was at a book signing and he remembered me, which was just amazing. But I had no hope that I'd get the other arc that is for Dark Dawn because it's just so sought after and so rare. But someone on Instagram, she's absolutely lovely, sent me a message a couple of months ago and we just confirmed it the other day. So I have the UK/Australian arc of Dark Dawn and this completes my Nevernight collection. Oh my goodness, I am so happy to have this book. This is amazing. This is incredible. If you haven't read Nevernight, what are you doing? Read Nevernight. Oh my god. These books are so chonky. I'm just so happy. Now I need to finish reading Dark Dawn, so I'll catch you in my next clip. August 18th at 5:30 and I'm just dropping in to report that I have read 120 pages of Dark Dawn. I'm reading this fairly slowly than usual because I've been prioritising other things to get done, and the launch is on the Friday this week, so I'm trying to get as much of it read before the launch. But if I don't finish it by the launch, I'm not too fussed about it. It's just, it would be nice if I did have it finished before the launch started. So we'll see how that deadline goes for me. I want to get through as much of it, like I said, as possible. So that's going to be about 300 pages, and I've got an assignment this week, which means I'm working again for about a week. So during the day I won't really get much time to do a lot of reading because I'll obviously be at work. So yeah, that's really my mini update for Dark Dawn. But my next update is that I might have to swap out my Stone Girl read for Monuments by Will Kostakis, because this, I think it's already out or it's coming out this month, and I'm seeing Will on a panel for Melbourne Writers Festival at the end of August, early September, so it'll be great to already have this started, or better yet, finished by the time I meet him. So I'm hoping to have this one read. I can't remember what the Stone Girl prompt is. Stone Girl is for the prompt of Muggle Studies, so I'm switching it out and replacing my Muggle Studies read with Monuments. So there you go. I looked it up and I wasn't lazy. How about that? So yeah, these are the two books that I'm wanting to read ASAP. Dark Dawn obviously is my current read. I'm still reading Dark Age on audiobook. I haven't really had a work commute to listen to it on, so I'm about 20-25% into that one. The action, like I thought, has amped up a little bit, so I'm enjoying it more than the beginning of it. My initial reaction was a little bit, I wasn't quite sure about it, but so far it has gotten a lot better. Hopefully it maintains that pace, because I really like that pace, and I'm not really about the politics, and there are lots of characters diluting the story, so I'm not really about those either. I feel like I would be if I'd reread all of the books before this one, because it's been a bit of a gap since Iron Gold came out compared to now when I'm reading Dark Age, so I kind of shot myself in the foot with that one a little bit, and I should have reread them, or reread Iron Gold at least, but what can you do? So yeah, that's really all I have to say for the moment. Hello, it's September 1st and I'm coming in to wrap up my NEWTS readathon. I actually read 3 books this month and I'm fairly happy with that number. I do obviously wish it was more than that, but I'm just glad that I read the few that I did. First off, I most recently finished Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff, and this was for the prompt of Charms, and I finished this yesterday actually, so it is very fresh. I loved this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars and I can't wait to read this series in the future because it's one of my absolute favourites. And then working backwards, I also finished Deviate, also by J. Kristoff, and I think this was for my History of Magic prompt because I know that I read one of the prompts out of order, so this was the second prompt on that list and it was read a book with a map in it, and I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I liked it and I talked more about it in a reading wrap up, so I won't go into it too much here. The other book that I had on the list to read for History of Magic, I believe, is read a fantasy book, and that was Dark Blade, and I actually didn't end up picking this one up unfortunately, and I saw on Instagram that this is more of a middle grade story than a young adult story, and it's not really what I wanted to read at the time, so that's why I wasn't really motivated to pick this one up, but it's still going to stay on my TBR because I think it would be something that I enjoy. And then the first thing that I read this month wasn't even on my NEWTS TBR at all, and it is 9 from the 9 Worlds by Rick Riordan. This is a short story bind up of the Magnus Chase characters, and it happens after the trilogy is finished, so if you read this one first you will spoil yourself, so don't do that. The Magnus Chase series is absolutely phenomenal. I gave the first book about a 3.5 stars and then worked my way up to a 4 and then a 5 stars for the last book. I ended up adoring this series so much, and that's why I jumped into this novella. I genuinely enjoyed all of the short stories in this novella. They were so much fun and they were also quite funny. I love Rick's writing. It is not a secret that I love Rick's writing, so I would highly recommend this series to you if you've not already read it. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars as well. And then the last book that I didn't actually end up reading for the NEWTS is The Wicked and the Divine Volume 1, but I've already read this one before, so that wasn't too much of a drama for me. I will pick this up eventually in the future and reread it, so I'm not too upset that I didn't get to this one in the readathon. I didn't actually end up reading Stone Girl, and I did swap that out with Monuments by Will Kostakis, and I haven't read either of those, but I am meeting Will Kostakis today and hopefully he can sign my book at Melbourne Writers Festival, so I do plan on picking up Monuments next. And yeah, as far as the readathon is concerned, that is it for me. I do have my contemporary-a-thon TBR going up very shortly. My TBR is here, but you can't see what books I've got on it yet. So that is a week-long readathon at the end of September, which I'm really chuffed for, and I can't wait to participate as well. I can't wait to read some contemporaries on my TBR, and if you're participating, do let me know. But thank you so much for watching this NEWTS vlog. Let me know if you passed or failed your NEWTS exams, because I definitely didn't pass, unfortunately. So my career as a writer-journalist in the wizarding world is a bit unrealistic considering that I didn't pass my exams, but thank you so much for watching this video and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.